the Headless Horseman, formerly known as Thomas Thompson, the son of Thomas. Since we're still with the in October and we're waiting for Halloween to come, or those that celebrate it are doing that, let's go and talk about the lore of the Headless Horseman, Sir Thomas. Now, Sir Thomas is now the Headless Horseman, and most of you might just know him as that little dungeon boss that we kill in hopes that we get our mount. But his story is quite an interesting one. Now, let's explore it. He grew up in Tearsfall Glades, where his family were pumpkin farmers. So that sounds pretty normal. Later on in life, he became a Knight of the Silver Hand. Okay, that's a logical progression for most tragic characters. Now, you see, when Arthas Menethil decided to purge Stratholme, he agreed with Uther and Jaina that such an action wouldn't be proper. And during his life, he might end up to regret it a little, or see the wheels of fate turn upon him. You see, Thomas was present throughout the Scourge destroying Lordaeron. He witnessed Baron Rivendell betray his people when he sent a supply of plagued grains to a village Thomas was defending. Later on, he received word that Arthas had returned from Northrend, happy in celebration, only to then murder his own father. Now, you see, Thomas believed that the problem didn't lay in Northrend with Arthas, that the problem started earlier than what happened in Northrend, which at this point nobody really knew what happened until much later on. 5 days later, after Thomas learned of Arthas' betrayal, he had learned that Uther the Lightbringer and many other paladins of his were killed by Arthas again. Now, as a desperate man with a family, he ordered his wife and his daughter to flee to Kalimdor alongside Jaina, while he would remain in Lordaeron alongside the Silver Hand to fight off the Scourge. He fought the Scourge alongside Alexandros Mograine, Seidan Dratrohan, even Mograine's sons Renault and Darion. He even got taken under Seidan Dratrohan's wing, a man that Thomas really looked up to. But later on, things would kind of change for the worse. You see, Renault would go on to murder Alexandros, his own father, using the Ashbringer. And at the words of Inquisitor Fairbanks, a part of the Silver Hand will split apart into what is known as the Argent Dawn, while the other part, led by Seidan Dratrohan, would go on to reform itself as the Scarlet Crusade. Now, Sir Thomas joined the Scarlet Crusade. He did not leave with the others, and if he did, then maybe he wouldn't be a boss for this festival. At some point, Seidan Dratrohan led Thomas and some other men to a town full of refugees who were let in with the assumption that it was just another plague chick. You know, usual stuff. Let's see how things are going. But then Dratrohan started to steadily, gradually, and increasingly convince Thomas that the population was infected. And Thomas lost all the goodwill and hope he had when he agreed with Uther and Jaina back in Stratholme. This time, he was willing to purge, and he did so, mercilessly killing every refugee that he could find. But unfortunately, he killed his own family in the process. He saw his daughter's face looking at him as his sword struck her down. A quick glimpse would tell us that he came to the conclusion that when he ordered his wife and child to go to Kalandor, there was a storm that kept their boat on shore. And since the shipwrights were all gone, well, there was nobody really left to repair the ship. And once that happened, well, the people on the ship had to go on and find the best solution they could have to hide themselves from the scourge, to be safe. Quite detrimental for them, wouldn't you agree? Now, Sir Thomas would fall from what many would fall from when this happens. He was taken back to the Scarlet Monastery and he went mad. Bananas, to be more precise. He believed the entire world was infected and that everyone was dead. Everyone was part of the scourge, excluding himself, of course. With that madness also came that weird little tick where now he speaks in rhymes. And you might have seen that if you've done the dungeon. He always does that. So after going bananas, he decided to kill off Scarlet Crusaders until he was beheaded. And it was that beheading that ended Thomas's life for the moment. Because you see, Satan Datrahan liked him, and he gave him a proper burial. But that is to say, this was the moment where Satan Datrahan was possessed, not even possessed, was in fact the Dreadlord Balnazar. And if you know that, Satan Datrahan's been dead for some time at that point. Now, once Thomas was entombed and Satan Datrahan, or Balnazar, was left alone with him, you might expect that something awful went on. And so it happened. Balnazar used his own blood and the fellow energies he could command to raise Thomas from death. And thus, he created the Headless Horseman with his own mad free will. Because what better agent to have for destruction than one that wants to kill everything?